guys, it's Peter from PS Sounds as usual, and this is gonna be a video about building pillars without the actual car on site. Yes, it's very much so against what I always say, that I would never build pillars like that, because so many things can go wrong. Like, how do you figure out the optimal aiming for the drivers? How do you make sure that you have no problem with tolerances, putting the pillar back, it doesn't rotate, it doesn't twist, and it will clip back, and there's nothing behind it like airbag, whatever. So this is the first pair of pillars that I was supposed to build abroad, to someone who lives very close to my missus' family, and we met before, and then he has all the fancy kit in his car now. I helped him a bit as well in the past, and we were hoping to go away for Christmas, see him and build these pillars on site, because building pillars doesn't necessarily require too many tools. It rather requires this, but current COVID situation didn't really allow it, so we had to come up with a plan, because he couldn't really just see his brand new speakers sitting in boxes, and he doesn't even have anyone around who could do a great job. So the idea was to send the mounting rings to him, that we did. So we are going to have the 4K Utopia, the same I installed in the 6GT, BMW 6GT not long time ago. The same 3D printed mounting rings and plywood mounting rings for the mids, nicely chamfered out at the back. So they mounted them with my help online. They mounted them to the preferred aiming, and you can see those lines with the Sharpie showing the tolerance to the dash, things like that. Unfortunately, this car, it's a Skoda Octavia 2006, I believe. It doesn't have anything behind the pillar, nothing, literally those two clips, and that's pretty much it. No airbag. The rubber is easy, it just sits onto the rubber there, that line. So we have less to worry about. Now it's just a question of how much this pillar is going to twist when I work with it. But that's why I have my own technique as well, using plywood, building up the main structure, because then that gives a good enough rigid structure that I can start to work with. Because if you fleece it and then resin it, the resin, as it cures, it can pull, and it can possibly twist the pillar. That's why some of the guys I know and I trust, like Lee at Platinum here in UK, he builds the pillars in the car. He masks everything out, protects everything, and then he actually applies the gloss and the resin in the car and leaves it setting overnight. So this way the pillar sets in place, it's not going to twist. So it's always an issue. It can be an issue if you build it without the car, that it can also twist and it won't clip back perfectly. But fingers crossed we won't have that issue. So they mounted them. They used hell of a lot of hot glue, as you can see, so they survived the trip. They were packed up safely. So now I can start building the main structure onto them and then make it happen. Let's see how that goes. It's always more important to get the right aiming with the speakers than making them looking symmetrical. People use lasers and they aim them to a single point in the car, or they build everything on actual bench, not even worrying too much about the speaker aiming, and they just care about the look. Yes, of course, they mustn't look completely different one side compared to the other side, but aiming, as I say, aiming is the most important thing. The mid could have been more of axis in the car, because the tweeters would be taken over by then. But he wanted the mids kinda from listening position, kinda within 20 degree. He had his previous build similar to that as well. I was fine with that. You can get great results, but it's rather important to have the tweeter to the driver within a certain degree if you want that top end detail without any EQing or anything like that. So that's just fine on 20 degree. Also, then it doesn't blast onto the side window that much, none of the sides. And then the other side is done similarly. So that's also within 20 degree from the listener. I had to measure up to make them look similar. So the distance here is the same on each side, and at least the distance from the mounting to here is also very similar. So they did a good job with that. There's a little bit of an intolerance, you know, measured from here to there. That's 30 mil. That's a little bit more, 35. So then this cutout shape is going to be very slightly different. But to be fair, you can't really notice that in a car because you don't sit in the middle. You sit offset, both front passengers, and you see the angles completely differently. So after a few hours of cut, chop, shapey, it doesn't look like I've done much, but this is going to determine the main shape of the whole pillar. Just so when people always ask me, you know, Pete, what do you use? Well, these are the tools I've used for this. You know, a multi-tool to cut the plastic out, a Dremel to grind it. That is also very important. A file, if I want to be really you know, fine and accurate, because with the Dremel you can easily go too far and then it's too late. And then a Stanley. The rest is all this, as you could see from the little time lapse. I try to do little time lapses so you can see how it really comes together. It's not a job that you would see people doing in a suit, that's for sure. But then I've got those scooped out. People could start building away from the pillar, but then by then it's quite intrusive. Your stage width also becomes narrower. This way you have more clearance, more view. Speakers are not in your face. And then once it's all shaped together, it will look pretty. Same on the other side. Passenger side, you will see something like this in a left-hand driven car. So now I have to start building up the body. As you could see from the time lapse part, I had these Baltic birch ply little thin cuts, so they are pretty flexible. I can bend them. That's how I could create that nice shape with the wood. There are many different ways to do it. I've seen many people using different techniques. Sometimes I do differently. Then now people could say that, you know, why didn't you stretch fleece over it? But then fleece would stretch kind of straight and you wouldn't have that nice curve. And then now I got that curve pretty much just by the wood. I don't even need filler and sand for ages to make it nice and smooth. It's already nice and smooth. So it was super glued in with the 2-component AC glue, and then I just have to make it rigid. So I have to scuff up the surface and then drill through. So I'm gonna apply fiber filler to the back to make it rigid and bonds to the plastic. and then I can carry on building the main body part of the pillar. Okay, let's stop here for a second. As you can see, yeah, there's a lot of sanding with machines and hands goes into it. Now the tricky thing is going to be that you watch these time-lapse parts and you think, oh, Pete is so quick, you know, easy. No. I am at 17 hours to this stage, and there's still probably a good 4 or 5 hours left, minimum. Normally, yeah, 2 pillars with tweeters and mids like this, fully finished, to the point of, you know, it's ready for trimming. Normally takes 3 days. So yeah, 24 hours is roughly that you have to come with. So this one has got fine filler and was sanded back. And now I just lined up the little problematic areas where I have to fill up just a bit more and then sand it back again. Otherwise, this one is getting close. And then this one only had the fiber filler, sand it back, but I managed to get to a way better stage just with that. So how you apply the filler, whatever type of filler or whatever you put on the surface, you know, is going to determine how much work you have with it afterwards. Like over there, I didn't have enough level. There's no point to sand it back because then the shape won't be right, it won't be even. So I just left it like that. I'm going to fill it up with fine filler and it will be fine. This fiber filler gives volume and strength, but it doesn't give enough strength for the whole structure. It just gives surface strength. I have to do the back because until that's not done, it's not going to bond to the pillar properly and it could separate in case of, you know, you drop it down or something. It's not going to separate here on the top, this part, because it's all bonded in through the plastic, as you see. So yeah, but over there I'll have a little gap as well. I have to fill that up, but it will be milkshaked from the back, plus steel added to it for weight and whatnot. So and this is one issue that I see very commonly from many builders, that when they just build onto the trim and just make a small hole for the speaker cable to come through, then a good 3-4 inch driver breathes into a tiny little space, like, you know, what would that be, 0.3 of a liter, tiny. And then, you know, the mid-range is just suffocated, it's not going to play low. You can easily get, I don't want to generalize because some mid-range drivers can play lower than others, but you can gain a lot of low end and you won't have such a big peak from like 300 up to 600 hertz if you don't close it up. If you keep it open, then it breathes down to the side of the dash behind the pillar, and then it will definitely play lower. I just kept that, although we didn't have clips in it, whether the owner, the way it sent it to me, didn't use that clip at all, but because it's there I kept it and it's strong enough structurally. So if a clip goes back to it, it can be clipped back, but I cut it out so I can get to the bottom of it properly instead of filling the whole thing up all the way down. So this way I will have more volume inside as well, but I will be able to, you know, squeeze the milkshake in all the way, and then it will be able to bond to the plastic, flow over it, into it, whatever. So that's that. So more filling, more sanding. People always ask me, you know, Pete, what is this red stuff? What do you mix? What do you use? There you go. I'm fed up answering questions all the time. And yes, some people in the industry may think, Pete, now you're giving information away. But, you know, this information is all out there all the time. So it doesn't matter. Giving information away like this is not going to enable anyone to be fully able to do anything like this anyway. But then you have an idea about what is what. So for the back, for that milkshake, we call milkshake, people mix resin. I use polyester resin, mixed with different things. You can mix it with sawdust, you can mix it with different additives. I use beautiful Coke. Have a sniff. Yeah, that's fiberglass powder, but you can use anything, pretty much anything. I tested that thing before. I poured that mix around a couple of, there you go. I had a few nails standing like that, I poured the mix around it, let it set, and then after that I wanted to see just 2-3 millimeter thickness, what strength it can give, and there was no chance to bend the screws and break the whole surface layer. It's so rigid, it's like concrete literally. So that gives the ultimate strength for the whole structure, which then bonds to the plastic as well from the black. So you can see I let it overflow. I had little holes in it as well, so it flows into the plastic just like I did at the tweeters. So this way it really grabs and goes into the plastic. It won't separate. The build that you put onto the pillar, it's not going to separate. Then I added beautiful steel powder into the mix. It was mixed into it, which gives extra weight to it in addition. So by combining different types of materials, composites, it changes the resonant frequency of the whole structure as well. And then once it's done, we can put sand lettering on the top of it, wherever you can lay anything. Not much around here. I wouldn't reduce the space behind the mid-range. I would just let it flow as free as possible. You can put polyfoam or some sort of acoustical wadding or stuffing behind the driver, which can actually work beneficially. But yeah, you can put deadening all the way up on the pillar to make it even more rigid and dead. But as the mid-range doesn't play under 200 150 hertz, it's not gonna rattle as such, but the more rigid the better, 100%. If this whole thing could be from stainless steel or stacked wood, as I shared a picture of the structure when I had just the wood finish, that could be really cool. Why not? So I'm gonna let these pillars now set. And that's the other thing, when people say, oh, I can do it in a day, good luck. Just simply, that's all I can say, because every single composite material has setting time. Yes, you can give more additive to it, but then it will also shrink. It will not bond the same way, so you can't go crazily over the percentages the manufacturers give to you. Like over there, there's percentage for the amount of resin you use. You can't go crazy. Yes, of course you can speed it up, you can use heat gun, you can use different tricks, but still it takes time till it sets, and you can carry on with the second step, just like with the filler, as you could see I was sanding. So yeah, this is now pretty close to be finished, and then I'll come back to it a bit later. Another beautiful part of this project is that I'm making spacer rings for his mid-bass installation for the client, because originally he had this kind of, off-the-shelf eBay jobby MDF painted. It's actually in pretty good state. It's quite magical that it didn't soak up, because MDF doesn't belong to doors, even if it's painted, unless it's heavily coated with resin, but it doesn't look like. So at least I could use this. He sent to me as a template to get the mounting points, because it looks like that year of Octavia, the 2006, can take an 8-inch driver. Hopefully he won't require chopping the inner skin. He should have enough clearance, because if we are using the Fokker mid and tweeter, then he pulled the plug and got this beauty, the AWM Fokker's 18-inch driver. It's pretty slim. It's not much deeper than most of the plug and play drivers for BMWs on the seats, and you can see from one of my previous videos I use this in the BMW 6 GT as well. So I created the rings. It's gonna be a dual layer solution, because yeah, we have to play with the tolerances. So it's 2 rings, but the bottom one is offset and is wider. It has a smaller cutout diameter, so that goes onto the door. It's nailed together now, the other one, but The bottom one is going to go to the door first, bolt through. I have the holes in it all around, so that gets bolted on, bolt through, and then knot from the back. And then the second layer is going to get bolted on. As you see, it's already bolted on with stainless bolts, and there are inserts inside. If you can see, there are inserts inside of the bottom ring, so it all gets bolted together. Then it can house this beautiful driver. That's it. And then again, we are using inserts, stainless, beautiful stainless bolts. And then that's it. It should be plug and play for him. And the most beautiful thing is that, as you see, the previous mounting was dual 18mm, 3/4 of an inch, and that was probably like 6mm, which is 1/4 of an inch. So this is 1/4 of an inch thicker this way than the one I have, because there's just only 18mm twice from birch ply. That's not going to soak water or anything like that. I don't bolt it down, but that's how much it's going to hang into the door. So when people create really long collars for the drivers to suffocate the driver around the basket, this driver has a lot of airspace to breathe. Well, one beautiful thing is that it has that huge venting hole, and all around the basket it has plenty of breathing, as you see. So it should be easy to install. So this is the end of the fabrication. 3 full days went into the pillars, so 24 hours, just if people want to understand how much work goes into it. Yes, it could certainly be done quicker. Some people, take more time building pillars for mids and tweeters. So it's fully completed now, ready for the finish, but we agreed not to have any finish because first it has to be tried. They actually fits into the car, and if everything is okay, then they will be flogged, because trimming a complex shape like this is not simple. And then those people who can do pretty stitching, and the stitching also follows the contours and lines and everything to make it beautiful. Some guys in Russia do crazy work. I really love their work. But yeah, it's really difficult, as I say, to find someone who can trim like that. To be fair, yeah, I would go for paint or flocking. I think they will be flogged. That's an easy, inexpensive finish, and it can give a really nice and smooth finish. And I think the owner's previous pillars were also flogged. But now, really thin bezel all around the drivers. It doesn't look barky. I don't like that. It flows nicely, both sides. So that's passenger side. And then, as I showed, the back, that's proper rigid. I should have put them on a scale just to see how heavy they are, but he's gonna add extra deadening to it. He said not to bother with that. He wants to do that. He wants to do a little bit in this project as well. It makes it a bit more special for him. I don't have the tweeters on site, but these rings were 3D printed when I was working on the previous project, when I had a freeway with me. I didn't have samples for the tweeters right now, but they are perfect tweeters fit. Even the thread was 3D printed into the plastic. I fitted M3 inserts into the wood, so he can use machine bolts, so the speakers can be taken in and out as many times as needed. Well, hopefully not many times. Rainguard, people always ask me, and I'm fed up with that. What is Rainguard? Basically, I say it again, it's a similar type of foam that you see on PA speakers, outdoor speakers. So the water cannot penetrate and then go through. It flows down on the surface. So it can be used behind the mid base in the door. You can attach it behind the basket to protect, the precious little things. Or if you oversize the mounting, you can even oversize the foam, put it in there and then bolt it down together with the speaker. But if the fitment is tight, then it's not gonna go underneath. So I would just, you know, somehow secure it behind the whole driver. Extra bolts and nuts for fitting the rings, because as I said, you know, those bolts go through into the door through the inner skin, not behind with the washer. So the first layer is on, then the second layer gets bolted on, as you see. So everything should be plug and play. Fingers crossed. Unfortunately, I can't show what it looks like in the car, but I'm sure that once it's done, he's gonna take footage of it and will share it with us. So it's very exciting. Hopefully everything goes to plan. So yeah, this is the end of the week, and I'm trying to put this video together for you. I was really debating whether to put it on YouTube or put it on Patreon. Please check out patreon.com/bssound, because yeah, most of the really in-depth content is gonna go there from now on, because it's just so much work, you know. This tiny little bit of video as well, I don't know how long it's gonna be. Pretty long, and I had 22 videos to put together, including all those time-lapse parts and everything. It's just a lot of work to upload it, edit it, and yeah, I just can't cope with it. I can't even cope with the workload. There's so much coming in. So many people want me to build systems for them, which is fantastic. You know, it's great. And finally, people really understand why these installs take that long, why you require professional to plan a system properly, because you know, you can save a lot of time when you select the right drivers for an application. You don't necessarily need the most expensive speakers when a given location in a car is restricting you, and a more expensive speaker is not going to make much difference anyway. So even in this case, yes, these 4K 8-inch drivers could be utilized better, but when the car is dictating, there's not much you can do. So it is what it is. At least with the A-pillars, we could do a great job. And hopefully, as I said earlier, it's gonna be plug and play. As soon as I have updates, hopefully in January, I'm gonna share it with you guys. I'm sure the owner is gonna take a bit of footage, have a bit of demo to show what they are like, what they sound like. Well, it's gonna sound like just like any other phone recording uploaded to YouTube. But this was a challenge. I took it on. I wanted to help him, and we will see what happens. Please don't flood me. Don't flood me with messages now that, hey, can you do these pillars for me? When can I send my pillars to you? I don't have time for that. You have to find someone else in your area for that. So, you know, you could send pillars from this point of view. You could send pillars even to India, and then someone would do it for you, you know, way cheaper, the same way. But the risk is always there. Never forget that there is a high risk that you receive the pillars and they are not going to fit. Then you screwed, and then you will pull your hair out, and it's going to be a very expensive game that way. You may as well go and play roulette, you know. So this is it. Hopefully you liked the video, guys, and you learned a lot from this. Techniques, you know, stuff I use. Hopefully it's going to help many people, some professionals as well. I'm not against sharing information, because I believe if we all share information, then you know, we help each other. If we didn't share anything, we would be still living in the dark age as a caveman. So and if a hobby person wants to go ahead and do it, they are going to do it anyway, so I have no problem with it. As I mentioned, please guys, check out Patreon, because there's more and more exclusive content coming to that surface as well, that you won't see anywhere else. How I build full cars. I'm going to share how the TT dashboard was built, how we built the M5 competition this summer. Everything is going to go up there, and there's already content up there. Steve's dash builds, the tuning part of it, where you find information you won't find anywhere else. And yes, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you got to the end of this video, then please subscribe, because there's a lot of content on this channel already that you can learn a lot from. And feel free to share it and comment, do your usual thing, guys. And it's always great to see when you interact with each other and you help each other out. There are a few guys, and I really love it when you realize that I don't have time to answer everything, and then you jump in and then you help out answering others. That's brilliant. I love that. So go for it. This is it for this one, guys. During Christmas I try to bring more videos, hopefully. Well, I should have a break, to be fair, because Mrs. is going to kill me. But I try to keep the channel busy for all of you, so you know I can help you getting your passion back into car audio the same way I get passionate about it even more, you know, when I see great feedback from everyone. And yeah, hopefully I can talk to you very soon. Take care.